One, two, test. Test one, two.
Good evening. This work session of the Board of Education of the Cleveland Municipal School District will come to order. Mr. Stockdale, will you call the roll?
Ms. Ellicott?
Here.
Mr. Briggs?
Here.
Ms. Jones? Mrs. LeBrun? Dr. Sridhar? Mrs. Welchow?
Here.
There are 5 members present.
Thank you. I ask everyone who wishes to rise and participate in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The chair will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the board business meeting of September 24th, 2024.
So moved.
Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. Next, I'm pleased to introduce our CEO to present this evening's CEO report.
Thank you, Chair Ellicott. First, before going into my report today, at our last board meeting, I was not feeling well, and thanks to Chair Ellicott, it was really encouraging me to say, hey, stay home, rest up, get better, but also, make sure you don't get anyone else sick. So I appreciate, that encouragement and the support of the board. But then more important, really think the support of my team. It really takes a team to really do leadership, and they were ready and willing to step in, most specifically to my Chief of Staff, J.R. Tompkinson, who was holding down the fort in this seat. We had many different presenters from Chief Farmer Cole, Lisa Farmer Cole, Chief Kevin Stockdale, and then also Stephen Christian that was able to fill in and support. So truly thank everyone for their support and helping while I was not able to be here. For tonight's CEO report, we have our school spotlight, which we're going to start with in a moment, and then a couple of other presentations from our Chief Academic Officer, just sharing a little bit more about our English language arts curriculum updates and some of the things we're learning and work that we have to continue to do, but some incredible progress that I'm excited that she's going to be able to share. And then also from our Chief Financial Officer, Kevin Stockdale, who's going to share a little bit about our current financial outlook and some scenario planning we're doing as we're heading into November and our upcoming 5-year forecast that will be presented. But first, we're so happy to have Dike School of the Arts here and Principal Premer here. So I'm going to invite Principal Premer up, and it looks like I see the Dike family in the house back there. Woo, woo. So come on up, Principal Premer, and just excited to hear about your progress and things that are taking place in your school.
Okay. Thank you, CEO Morgan. Good evening. Good evening. My name is Ann Premer. I am the principal of Dike School of the Arts. It's a pre-K through 8 art school. Can I take this off? Okay. We are a pre-K through 8 art school located in, tucked away at Quincy and 61st Street. I am here tonight, and I am excited to be here tonight because I know DSA offers students across the city a uniquely enriching fine arts elementary school experience. And our students, families, and faculty and staff want the community, the CMSD board, to understand and support all that we do here. So for the next few minutes, you will hear from our faculty, staff, and students and what DSA means to them. Then I will speak to the work we have done over the past 2 years since I have joined the DSA community. And finally, I will speak to the work that we need to do, that needs to be done, so that everyone knows about Dike School of the Arts and that we are a premier education location hotspot for fine arts and core academic instruction. So I am going to skip ahead so we can see our scholars. No?
say I'm having a bad day, I would like do art and like express my feelings into it. If I was sad, I would draw and everything would like go away. After I'm done drawing, it would like have a masterpiece.
I can learn from just doing dance, and I love everything about it. Like, it brings me so much joy.
When we're integrating the arts, I think it takes kids outside of themselves where they might be struggling academically. Some students aren't the best at reading, some students aren't the best at mathing, but when I put art in front of them, everyone can be successful. And I think that's a really good motivator for getting kids to come back tomorrow. I think the fact that we have actual artists with our kids every single day makes us really special. I have been to a play by our drama teacher, to a performance by our band teacher, to a program where our dance teacher is running the Tri-C dance program. Knowing that there's actual artists is really a huge advantage.
They see and they know that we do the things that we're showing them outside of here. Like I have pictures all over my room, we plan gigs and
the kiddos feel that way too when they're here, that they are seen, that they're heard, that they're loved, that they realize that we as the adults here are really trying to create opportunities for them to explore who they are and to learn about all the different ways that they can use the arts to be great leaders in the future.
Our dynamic in this building is very unique as opposed to like encore teachers in another building. We're doing pieces from a different time in the art room, and then they come and see me, and then we're talking about something that was going on musically at the same time. It helps bridge that gap.
When my students discover Shakespeare and it clicks to them, and I see the connection, and I'm like, oh, I didn't have that when I was their age. So those are usually my moments where I light up.
So you watch them develop from following simple directions to actually doing a dance and having a role in the dance and show their true selves as artists.
The evolution that I see this school going is down an amazing path. I'm seeing students flourish, become talented, and the middle school students mature and taking over these leadership roles, and I see a really great road for our school.
6th, 7th, and 8th grade, they can play by ear. They can read music. Most schools are not teaching that. It's not even in the curriculum for them to know how to play by ear in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
The love and the discipline and the genuine care that is here for our children, it is a beautiful thing.
I love the school. You don't have to be scared to ask a teacher about something because they will always teach you on step by step.
I want to strive to do more, just create more opportunities, not only for them to feel safe, but also for them to be heard and their leadership to be leveraged in this building and throughout the community and throughout CMSD.
What we're doing at this building and what we're doing for these children is life-changing.
It's really beneficial for the students around this neighborhood and through Cleveland to have these same abilities as kids in the suburban districts.
A lot of the times we go through the ringer just trying to get a venue, but we don't have the funds a lot of the times. And it would be nice to have more financial support so we can have scripts sent to the classrooms, have more music books, so that we're not reusing a lot of the stuff and it's starting to fall apart and the kids notice that.
This school is an awesome, amazing school, and it really deserves to have its time to shine, to show what we're doing and what our arts instructors are doing and how kids are flourishing with having the arts in their lives.
You always need equipment and art supplies and stuff for music.
I would want the understanding and future of the school to be viewed as an artistic oasis for students, where they feel like it's a safety net and they have a sound foundation to where they can catapult into their artistic interest.
Whoa.
Now for the data. So at our, I'll just keep going. So at DSA, most of, in terms of our demographics, most of our students are African American. We serve students with disabilities. Our percentage hovers at about 12%. We currently do not have students identified as English language learners or receiving gifted services. So in terms of our achievement, you will see in a moment. I'm not controlling. It was in my hand. Okay, sorry. Okay, so these are our demographics as well as our makeup of our teaching staff. So in terms of our achievement, you will see, because I clicked the button, the following graphs here show the number of students that are in grades 3 through 8 who took the NWA benchmark assessment in fall 23 and fall 24 in reading. And so this was just taken last month. This identifies the percent of students who are projected to score proficient or higher on the state assessments. Bright spots we see from one year to the next, obviously, is the number of students taking the assessment. So we are 98% of our students did take the assessment this year. There has been a slight increase in the number of students that are predicted to score proficient, accelerated, or advanced in the spring. However, we do need to see a drastic increase in the number of students beginning the year reading well above grade level. So right now we're seeing 29% of our students to be on track. Our district goal, our AAP goal, is for 31% of our students by the end of the year. Okay. So in terms of our math proficiency for grades 3 through 8, according to the NWA math assessment, these graphs show the same data points for math. So we see a larger increase of our students predicted to be proficient. However, we still have a large chunk of our students who are starting the year reading, doing math well below grade level. So currently 17% are predicted to be proficient. That technically is our AAP goal, district goal, so we better surpass that. I do not have a graph to represent our K-3 data, but I want to highlight that currently 48% of our students in K-3 are on track in reading, and according to Ames Web Assessments, and our goal for the year is for 52% of our students to be on track. So again, we better surpass that goal as well. Okay. So in terms of our climate and culture, this graph shows CFL survey data from fall 2023 in the blue to winter 2024 in the yet have our data from this year as the students just finished taking it. Our biggest increase we saw was in our social emotional supports for our students, and I attribute that to actually implementing Tier 1 PBIS for the last 2 years and also welcoming the CARE program from the Cleveland Playhouse into our school. In terms of our equity measures, so this graph shows our out-of-school suspension rates for the current year. And if we were meeting our equity measures, the green and blue would be roughly equal in the amount of bandwidth they cover. So right now we are disproportionately seeing our male students with disabilities receiving out-of-school suspensions. So our areas of focus this year, in addition to the district-wide focus areas, we are really focusing our energies to move our students on that Tier 2 instruction. So we find that in our, we didn't really use a lot of data last year to track our Tier 2 students, and so those are kind of the students that are not progressing as we want them to from core instruction. And so we have carved out truly 90 minutes of intervention for K through 3 And we want this daily 90 minutes of intervention to be used, research-based instruction that is both teacher-directed and computer-based. In addition, we have carved out a period a day of interventions for grades 4 through 8, really targeting through data those Tier 2 students. We are also focusing on Tier 2 behavioral interventions. We have Tier 1 down, and so now we really need to target our support for those students, the 15% of those students who are the ones receiving the suspensions, receiving planning center invitations, and it's not working. So we need something else for them. So we're really focusing our energies on Tier 2 academics and behavioral instruction this year. And in terms of our celebrations, my favorite. So for the past 2 years since I've been at DSA, we've really focused on reviving and reinventing our fine arts model. We want our students to receive consistent, quality, culturally responsive instruction in instrumentals, voice, visual arts, dance, theater that rivals, if not surpasses, what students may receive in school districts with higher taxes. Our students receive, our minors and majors students, so that's grades 4 through 8, they receive 6 periods of instruction in their chosen fine arts model every week. Our students perform at least quarterly on stage, and they present their portfolios of art at gallery nights. This year we have monthly art juries that we have instituted, and I know I'm on time. So real quick, we have a monthly arts juries. So this is an additional way to ensure that our kids are reaching mastery level in their performing arts. We have a piano lab this year. We're creating a full orchestra, grades 3 through 5. We are doing a full bass jazz band this year. And I will finally say all of this work has been buoyed by new partnerships that we did not have before with the Music Settlement, the Cleveland Orchestra, the Center for Arts Inspired Learning, the Cleveland Playhouse, Studio Institute. I could name some more, but I won't. And so we do all of this to ensure that, as Mr. Pope said, we are an oasis of fine arts for our kiddos. Thank you very much for your time, and I do want to thank our DSA community for coming out and showing their love and support of our school. So that is it.
Any questions from the board? Mr. Briggs?
Oh, just thank you very much. Well presented.
I have a question.
Yes, Dr. Sridhar.
So first of all, sorry I walked in a few minutes late. I have a question. I'm Nigaman Sridhar. Thank you for your presentation. I have in the slides that you showed about the proficiency in ELA and math, you talked about predicted increases. Can you say a little more about what you mean by predictions and what you're basing those things on?
Good question. So we are basing that on correlation studies between NWEA MAP benchmark assessments and the Ohio State assessments. And so those correlation studies show us that those percentage of students are predicted to be proficient or higher.
Okay, so those NWEA MAP tests are already done. So the students
Correct.
have taken those. Okay, thank
Yes.
you. I just wanted to clarify for those who are listening that it's not just a prediction based on a model. You're talking about students taking assessments, and then you're using those assessments to make this prediction.
Yes.
So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation, and also for those who haven't been to the school, it's truly, like you said, an oasis in the middle of a housing facility, and what you guys are creating there is something really special. So thank you for your leadership and your team's leadership. A couple of questions. Great seeing the proficiency jump in math. I know that was at the early part of last year to the early part of this year. What math curriculum are you guys using?
We are using Eureka.
Eureka, okay, yep. And other than the math curriculum, are there any particular strategies you're using that you're attributing to? Because for what I saw, I think it was 5% proficiency last year, 17% proficiency now. Any additional strategies you're using in math?
Well, I think one, we really pushed last year for there to be full implementation of the curriculum, and really a good understanding from the teacher's perspective of how to utilize the curriculum. And I also think that we have utilized intervention periods, and we're doing more of that this year, so that not only are they're getting interventions in reading and writing, but also math. So I do attribute that to more small group support in math.
Last question, attendance. Do you know roughly what your attendance percentage is now, and any support you may need with attendance?
We have, we're struggling with kindergarten and first grade attendance, I will say, and we have created actually a family and school support team, and their sole duty is to work on our attendance. And so our Say Yes coordinator, our school nurse, our school counselor, myself, our parent ambassador all serve on that team. And as a way, because frankly, I wasn't able to tackle our attendance myself, so having this team created to do just that, I think will help figure out, one, what the barriers are that parents have of getting their kids to school, because it is the little ones we see that are struggling to get to school. So what those barriers are, and providing the wraparound support from this team to meet those.
And are you guys using Everyday Labs?
I am, yes.
Okay.
So I use Everyday Labs, and I give the data to the team.
To the team. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. May I say one thing? If anyone knows of any like musical instruments or classrooms or risers or portable stages that are lying around, we would be eternally grateful for them. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you. For the remainder part of my CEO update, I would first like to invite our Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Selena Florence, up to talk a little bit about our English Language Arts curriculum. As you guys know, this is our first year using a universal English Language Arts curriculum. We're only a few months in, and so even though there's still work we have to do to really ensure more training, also making sure that our students and our educators are familiar and comfortable with the curriculum, there's already some promising signs of implementation. And so, Dr. Florence, share some updates.
All right, good evening, Board Chair Ellicott, board members, Dr. Morgan. And as Dr. Morgan stated, I'm going to share just a little bit about our ELA progress so far this school year. If you will recall, in the spring of last year, we started our adoption process for this year for our ELA curriculum, and that included surveys with our teachers, focus groups with our teachers, surveys to our principals, talking to them about which curriculum they felt like was most effective in our classrooms, and then also we sought feedback from our parents and our community. And so through that adoption process, we selected HMH into reading and into literature for our K-8 schools, and then we selected SAVIS, My Perspectives, for our high schools. And so beginning in last year, we started training with our administrators. They are one of our key levers for supporting our teachers in our buildings, and so we started with them first. And then all throughout the summer, in June and July, we also provided training for our principals and assistant principals to be able to go back and support teachers in the classroom. And so our first training for teachers was held on our district PD day on August 14th. We trained about 3,000 teachers in their specific content areas, which included the ELA curriculum. And then they also went back to their buildings in that same week and received additional training and support from their principals on the new ELA curriculum as well. So that week really included a crash course for them in the new curriculum and preparing them for the first day of school. And so throughout the course of this first few months of school, we have continued to provide training in the 50 minutes that administrators lead every single week, and that includes lesson internalization, unit internalization, helping teachers to really understand and internalize what they are teaching, and also using data to understand what's working from what they're teaching in their classrooms every single day. And so our current progress throughout the course of these past few months, our district support teams have been in buildings, and our partners have been in buildings, visiting classrooms. That includes, modeling lessons for teachers. That also includes visiting their 50 minutes. That includes visiting classrooms. And so 2 data points we wanted to call out from our first few months of implementation. So in our K through 12 classrooms in total, in visiting classrooms, we see 73% of our observations in which the teacher's facilitation is aligned to the design of the curriculum and CMSD's implementation specifics. In 15 of our K-8 schools, we're providing additional supports. We see 94% of classrooms where the lesson or the task reflect grade level rigor. And so those 2 data points tell us that our teachers are trying to use the curriculum. It is not perfect yet. It is not where we want it to be yet. But we do see classrooms where teachers are using the curriculum. They are planning well. They are working with their supports inside their classrooms, trying to use the scaffolds that are there as well. And so we do see evidence that our teachers are using the curriculum across our K through 12 schools.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add there, even though there's work we're doing there, those signs are promising in terms of the numbers. When we implemented a new universal ELA curriculum in my previous district, in the beginning stages, we were looking at 10% implementation in terms of efficacy, in terms of the utilizing the curriculum, seeing alignment, evidence of the strategies. And so to see this not only shows just the great work our educators are doing, but the support that's happening at the academics, from the academics team. And then also a lot of these strategies, some teachers have been utilizing them for a couple of years now. And so this is promising to see this.
Absolutely. So we will continue with our support. Principals and school leaders, as we said, are supporting every day in classrooms, providing observations and feedback, and then also in the 50 minutes. So we do have a short video we wanted to show you of some of our progress thus far. I hope that it plays. I don't think it's going to play. So I'll send it to you, board members, so you can see, so that you can see some of our progress in our classroom so far. And so as we continue throughout the rest of the semester and throughout the rest of the year, some of our upcoming trainings, we will have our HMH and SAVIS partners in our school buildings. They actually started this week, and so they are at schools for a full day. Teachers can drop in for optional training or optional support with using the curriculum. They will also support in the 50 minutes while they are at the school throughout the course of that day. We have optional PLCs that began also last week for teachers to, again, drop in after school. It's optional for them. If they need additional support, they can drop in, and they're getting support from their colleagues who we are training on a monthly basis. We'll continue with the administrator 50 minutes every week, again, focusing on lesson internalization, unit internalization, and data-driven instruction using our ELA curriculum. And then we also have our school PD days coming up in November, and then also we have a district PD day coming up in February where we will also continue training around ELA. We also have insight pages that we've created, Schoology courses we've created that have all of our district-created materials, our scope and sequence documents, lesson planning documents, internalization documents, all housed in one place, so teachers and leaders can utilize those as they see fit. Any questions?
Yes, Ms. Welch-Howell. Thanks. Thank you, Dr. Florence. Appreciate the update here and glad to see the progress on the adoption of the curriculum. I think it was on slide 3 that had kind of the percent of classrooms that adopted the new curriculum. So for the 27% that have not, what are we observing? Is it that they're close to being aligned but just not quite there yet, or sort of completely in a different space, different curriculum?
So it's a variety of things. In some of those classrooms, we are seeing other materials that are not the actual text that we adopted. And so principals are having conversations one-on-one with those teachers. In some cases, it may be that they are using, but it's not to the level that we have asked them to use. And so it's a variety of things we're seeing there. Good question.
Dr. Sridhar?
Dr. Florence, thank you so much for your presentation, and thanks for keeping us up to date with progress. I actually want to take us back a little bit. I know there's been public comment on this topic, and there have been statements about the inappropriateness of the curriculum and things like that. Could I ask you to speak a little bit about your process and the judgment that went into the selection of this curriculum and what you've seen in your experience and in your research?
Absolutely. So as I started with, we did seek feedback from a variety of stakeholders from the beginning. And so that included our teachers, that included our principals, our school leaders, community members, and parents. And so we wanted to hear feedback from everyone about what they thought about the curriculum. We had a team of our specific academics support staff who also vetted each of the curriculums that we were looking at. And they actually looked through, and cultural responsiveness was one of the pieces they actually looked at to be able to decide which curriculum was the best fit. We talked through, and we also talked with HMH about what they were providing as far as cultural responsiveness. And so they were able to point to specific components of the curriculum that helped us to see where cultural responsiveness was in the curriculum. And that included different supports and scaffolds for multilingual learners, for students with disabilities, and supports for teachers actually for how to actually make their classrooms more culturally responsive. And so our research also included ed reports, being able to use that site to look at and analyze all the different pieces and parts of the curriculum. They gave us tons of data and information about each curriculum that we looked at. And so we used all of that to make this decision about which curriculum choice we wanted to use for this year. Mm-hmm.
Dr. Florence, I appreciate this presentation immensely, and I appreciate everything that you and the team are doing I know that change is hard and it takes time, and I appreciate you sharing with us what you're doing on that front, and also just, everything that teachers are doing to get up to speed or to implement this curriculum is, incredibly important, and I think that it's good to see. I look forward to hearing more as you work through this process of making this change.
Absolutely. I cannot say enough about our teachers who are doing the hard work on the ground every day to make this curriculum come to life.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Florence. And if by any chance if you're able to find the link while we have Chief Stockdale up, because I know it's like a 30-second video, we can do that. Otherwise, we could send it to our board members. But, I do invite Chief Stockdale up. We're going to shift gears a little bit, but just to talk about our finances. As everyone knows, we are required by the state to bring forth our 5-year forecast twice a year, once in May and once in November, and we're a month out from November. And so this is just a little bit of some of the things that we're looking at. Of course, everyone knows that we're also on the ballot this November. So this is talking a little bit about some of the previewing and scenario planning that we're doing in both cases, both a levy favorable scenario. Oh, yep, I think that's the video playing in the background. Both a levy favorable scenario as well as what a scenario looks like where it does not pass. And so I invite Chief Stockdale up to just share some updates. If you can bring the deck back up, and if you do have the video, we can share that at the end. But we'll move to this.
Yeah, while that's coming up, thank you for the introduction. And as CEO Morgan discussed, I'll be giving a little bit of an update of where we are now. We are in the process of updating the 5-year forecast, and I wanted to sort of preview where we're going. So to ground ourselves, this is a comparison of the May 5-year forecast, the one that you approved on May 14th, I believe, compared to the November 5-year forecast from last year. And the line that I really want everyone to focus on is the final row on it, which is the change from November of 2023. And that is to recognize that we have done a lot of work and we made a lot of progress. So you're seeing cumulative positive results that are reflected in that 5-year forecast. And while we have not finished the 5-year forecast, I can preview that we are expecting those to continue. On the other side of that is that we know we have structural issues that we have to deal with. So we have annual operating deficits that would begin this year, and that we are scenario planning, as Dr. Morgan referred to. Really, the challenge for us as a district, like a lot of districts, is that property taxes are our only opportunity locally to raise revenue. In Ohio, in local governments, you may not hear from your city or your county asking for a tax levy every 4 years, 6 years, 8 years. That's because they have other revenue sources. They have income taxes, sales taxes, fees, and those are all things that increase over time as the economy improves. Unfortunately for us, property taxes in Ohio are designed not to increase as the economy improves. In fact, the opposite is designed to happen. So tax rates decrease so that the same amount is collected, and that's often called the House Bill 920 effect. And so what it means is that lower tax rates for property owners and the district receives basically the same amount of money over time. The challenge, of course, is that with a state that is providing revenue under the state funding formula that is really not growing for us either, we have increasing costs as every government entity does, and so we have the challenge of trying to make the ends meet. This chart, I have tried to explain and failed to explain the impact of reappraisals multiple times, and this chart seems like it has struck a chord with people, so hopefully you find this to be valuable. If you look at the chart and look at the sort of orangish area, that is our total appraised property value for the district in billions of dollars. So what you see there is from 2021, it was a bit over $5 billion. In 2022, we had the last reappraisal, and our appraised values went up by 13.3%. So that's the orange area. The blue bars on the bottom are the amount that we actually collect in property taxes. So despite the fact that our property values increased by 13.3% last reappraisal, our collections only went up by 3.2%. Most of it we do not collect, and it's due to that House Bill 920 effect. As you can see, from 2022 to 2024, we're basically flat, and 2025 is the period that we're in now. So it's collection year 2025 based on tax year 2024. What we're expecting right now from the county is a 26% increase. I should have brought my glasses. 26% increase in property values, but based on the county's estimates, only a 2% increase in what we will collect. So we see this challenge of, it looks like there is more taxable authority, and that we should be able to raise more revenue, but we can't. And so the cumulative effect over this time period is that values will have increased by 46%, but revenues over that time period only increasing by 9%. So we're falling behind inflation every year. So these are the challenges on the revenue side. That's why the revenue side of our picture is basically flat. And this chart was designed to bring that together with what we've done on the expense side. So the blue line is our revenue. Gray is what we expect with expenses. These are both based on the May 5-year forecast. And the dotted line shows the ARP ESSER money that expired actually at the end of September. What I wanted to show here is that we are trying to take a balanced approach toward meeting the structural challenges that we face. So we recognize that we can't just raise additional revenue. We can't just ask the community for that. And we also, we don't want to get to the point where we're just cutting our way out of it. And so what the orange line is showing is that even with additional revenue, we'll bring in more money every year, but there's still going to be a gap. So in the beginning, the gap between the orange line and the gray line is small. It grows over time toward that 27-28 school year. So even with a levy, it's a $76 million gap. And that means that that's work that, as a district, we have to do to identify savings in order to be sustainable. In November, we have our November meeting on November 6th, which is a Wednesday. And we will be, my team is preparing 2 forecasts for that meeting. One with a scenario where the levy passes, and one with a scenario where the levy does not pass. And so we'll have to make some decisions, potentially beginning in November, if a levy does not pass, about what specific cuts that we will be making. And so we hope to have a positive outcome on that, but I just wanted to lay that out there, that this is something that it's going to be a both-and solution.
Yeah. One thing I would add to that point in terms of just the scenario planning that we're doing, and I've shared this before, but in both events, there's work we have to do as a district to look at our finances, and that's what you heard Chief Stockdale mention, where we're going to be looking at our buildings, we're going to be looking at our programs, staffing models. That happens whether a levy passes or not. One of the things, though, that is a challenge in a levy not passing scenario that does expedite how fast some of those cuts would need to be made. Things that we will be putting in front of this board in terms of a shorter timeline. And also, some of the review that we're doing with long-term planning and the work that we're doing to really do this with the community to really identify cuts in a levy fail scenario. Some of those things are not, we're not given the time. And so we are looking at this. We are looking at all different scenarios. But as I mentioned before, some of those cuts that would need to be made in a levy fail scenario would be painful. We were able last year when we made cuts to not be able to touch schools. That's not something we would be able to guarantee in a levy fail scenario. And so we're looking at all those scenarios, and we'll be bringing the board some more information as we're moving closer to November.
Dr. Sridhar?
Thank you, Chief Stockdale. Could you go to the previous slide here? I want to just so I want to just point out and ask a question. So that in 2025, the collection year, we're talking about the valuations in 2024. So the 26.4% increase in property values does not have any impact on the taxes being assessed and collected this year.
Correct.
Right. They will have an impact next year.
Yes.
Correct. So do you have a sense of what kinds of changes might come from that? I mean, because that 3% increase in 2022. No. So 2022 was another revaluation year, but again, there was no change at that time. Is that correct?
2022 was the collection year for the evaluation.
21.
So yeah, 2021 was the reevaluation year.
Okay.
We collected in 2022, so you're seeing a new 2022 value and collection. The same in 2025, where we're expecting a 26% increase in values based on the reappraisal everyone's hearing about, but only a 2.2% increase in revenue.
Thank you.
Which I should also point out that was revenue that was largely already projected in the May 5-year forecast.
And then that holds for the following years until there's a new valuation.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, at
Mr.
all
Briggs?
events, we're going to be making significant cuts, no matter
Is
what
your mic
happens.
on?
Yeah,
Sorry.
sorry. In all events, we're going to be making significant cuts, just not as significant as if the levy passes, which we all hope it does.
Yeah. Just for those that couldn't hear Mr. Briggs, he was saying in both scenarios, significant cuts, but more significant, of course, in a levy fail scenario, and then also that timeline is expedited.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if we do, only if we quickly have the cue for the video, we don't, okay, we will send that out to the board and make sure we get that. But thank you, Chief Stockdale and Dr. Florence. And that concludes my CEO update.
Can we put it in board docs so that it's visible to the public?
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. This evening, we have 8 resolutions in the areas of Board of Education, Finance, Academics, and Equity and Culture that will be presented to the board for discussion only. The board will be asked to consider the adoption of these resolutions at our October 22nd board business meeting. The first is Resolution 5.01, amending the professional services agreement between Julian and Grube and the Board of Education of the Cleveland Municipal School District for internal audit services. Both state law and board policy provide that the Board of Education may appoint an internal auditor who reports directly to the board. While in the past the board has employed an internal auditor, after considering hiring another full-time employee to serve as internal auditor, the board determined that contracting with a CPA firm for internal audit services is the most prudent and efficient way at this time to ensure that the necessary internal audit function is adequately and independently performed. At the June 25th excuse me, board business meeting, the board approved a contract with Julian and Grube for internal audit services. This amendment will allow additional support from Julian and Grube as needed and within the original $75,000 contract. While the original contract provided for these services at the firm's partner hourly rate, this amendment will allow some of this internal audit work to be conducted by other employees at Julian and Grube at lower hourly rates as set forth in Exhibit A of the resolution. Is there any discussion or questions from the board? Dr. Morgan, any additional comment?
I would just like to thank our Chief Financial Officer, Kevin Stockdale, and his staff for the continued work with our internal audit contract and all the work that they've also been doing to support us through internal audit. Truly appreciate it.
Thank you. Seeing no discussion, Dr. Morgan, would you please present the remaining resolutions?
Yes, these next two resolutions are our finance resolutions. 6.01, authorizing the acceptance of a grant from the state of Ohio and authorizing the chief executive officer to spend the funds in accordance with the terms and conditions of the grant. With this resolution, the board will be accepting a grant from the state of Ohio in the amount of $599,250 to support the assessment of children with a set of 25 skills, knowledge and behaviors in the fall and spring, and inner ratings in the Ready for Kindergarten, K-Ready system, and authorizing the CEO to spend the grant funds in accordance with the terms and conditions of the gifts and grants. 6.02, authorizing the acceptance of a grant from the George Gunn Foundation and authorizing the CEO to spend the funds in accordance with the terms and conditions of the grant. With this resolution, the board will be accepting the following grant from the George Gunn Foundation, the amount of $40,000 to support the entry fees and team expenses for East Tech, MC Squared STEM, John Marshall, Davis Aerospace and Maritime, Garrett Morgan, School of Engineering and Innovation High Schools, and CMSD's all-girls team in the first robotics competition, and authorizing the CEO to spend the grants and funds in accordance with the terms and conditions of the grant.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? All right.
The next resolution is an academic resolution, 7.01, adopting and issuing a report to the state of Ohio describing the Cleveland Municipal School District's performance for the 23-24 school year. Under the Cleveland Plan legislation enacted by the Ohio legislature in 2012, the CMSD Board of Education has previously in 2012 and 2015 adopted an array of measures to be used in evaluating the performance of the school district and goals for improvement on each of those measures. Each year, our board is required to submit a report to the governor, the Ohio Director of Education and Workforce, and the General Assembly describing the school district's performance for the previous school year on each of these measures and whether the school district has met each of its goals for improvement. With this resolution, the board will be adopting and issuing this annual report for the 2023-24 school year. The report is attached in Exhibit A. Upon adoption of this resolution by the board, this report will be submitted to those designated state officials by November 1st, the November 1st deadline.
Any questions? All right.
These next four resolutions are equity and culture resolutions. 8.01, authorizing the employment of teaching, non-teaching, and school-based administrative staff. This is a routine monthly resolution authorizing a total of 95 new hires this month, the details which are set forth in Exhibit A attached to the resolution. 8.02, authorizing the reclassification of employees. This is a routine monthly resolution authorizing the reclassification of a total of 35 employees this month, the details which are set forth in Exhibit A attached to the resolution. 8.03, accepting the retirements, resignations, and other separations of employees. This is a routine monthly resolution accepting a total of 48 separations of employees this month, the details which are set forth in the Exhibit A attached to the resolution. And 8.04, authorizing the issuance of limited contracts for differential positions and the payment of additional earned compensation to employees. This is a routine monthly resolution authorizing limited contracts for differentials and payments of additional compensation to a total of 32 employees this month, the details which are set forth in Exhibit A attached to the resolution.
Any questions on the equity and culture resolutions? All right. That concludes the presentation of the resolutions on tonight's agenda. Is there any old business? For new business, I want to mention and on behalf of the board and wish a happy birthday to Dr. Sridhar and Ms. Welch-Howell, who are celebrating birthdays this month. Yay. Is there any other new business? All right. The next regular board meeting will be a board business meeting on Tuesday, October 22nd at 6:30 p.m. at John Adams High School, 3817 Martin Luther King Drive. The chair will now entertain a motion that the board enter into executive session for the purpose of considering the appointment and employment of public employees and officials, preparing for negotiations with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms of their employment, and conferring with attorneys concerning disputes involving the Board of Education that are the subject of pending or imminent court action.
So move.
Thank you. Mr. Stockdale, please call the roll.
Ms. Ellicott?
Yes.
Mr. Briggs?
Yes.
Ms. Jones? Mrs. LeBrun? Dr. Sridhar?
Yes.
Mrs. Welchow? Motion passes with 6 votes.
Thank you. The board will now move into executive session. Following executive session, the board will return to this room to briefly conduct some further business. The chair will now entertain a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the suspension of a teaching employee.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Dr. Morgan, any explanation on this resolution?
This resolution is to approve a recommendation for a 3-day suspension without pay for violation of district policies, procedures, and rules.
Any discussion from board members? Seeing no discussion, Mr. Stockdale, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Ellicott?
Yes.
Mr. Briggs?
Yes.
Ms. Jones? Mrs. LeBron? Dr. Sridhar?
Yes.
Mrs. Welchow?
Yes.
Motion passes with 6 votes.
Thank you. The resolution passes. There being no further business before the board, the chair will now entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Thank you. Hearing no objection, this meeting is adjourned. Have a good night.